the author's arrangement of characters and events in a story. A plot is a storyline. Every movie that has been made, every story that has been written, and every tale that has been told all have the same basic plot line. The main basic parts of a plot are the exposition, the rising action, the climax, and the resolution. The exposition is the beginning of the story. The purpose of the exposition is to provide some background and to inform the readers about the plot, character, setting, and theme of the story. This is the time when most of the characters are introduced. Next in line is the rising action. This is where most of the meat in the story is, and usually is the longest part. Most of the conflict occurs here. The most dramatic and intense part of the plotline is the climax. This is the turning point of the story. In comedy, things usually change for the better, but in tragedy, the story will take a turn for the worst. The resolution, or the denouement, is the final putting together of this plot, where everything is wrapped up and everything comes together. A plot device is a tool used by the author to advance the story. There are many different plot devices. One plot device is a character. A character is a person in the story. The two main types of characters being the protagonist, or the hero, and the antagonist, the bad guy. The protagonist is the main character who the reader sympathizes with. The antagonist is the character or force who is against the protagonist. The relationship between these two characters is where most of the conflict in the story comes from. Conflict is another type of plot device. Conflict comes from the opposing forces in the story. Conflict is the cause of most of the action and excitement in the story, and is also the basis of the story.
Dude, what are you doing?
Drinking some water?
That's my water!
No, trust me, it's mine.
That's my water!
This is my water.
No! Don't do it!
Another plot device is a flashback. Flashbacks are used to inform the audience of something that has happened before the story even started.
Are you hungry?
Nah, I'm good, bro. In medias res is Latin for into the middle of things. As the name implies, in medias res is when a story begins in the middle of some type of action. It is very common to have flashbacks in a story that is in medias res. This is so the plot that wasn't in the beginning can be explained throughout the rest of the story.
They have a hostage named Mrs. Cash.
Ted, I'll make a run for it and draw their fire.
You can't do that, Rick!
I have to. No! Rick!
Another type of plot device is foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is giving clues to the reader about what will happen later in the text.
I hear this is an old military explosion testing field.
You think there's still active landmines in there?
I don't know.
Go along, son.
Okay, Daddy.
The last plot device I will be mentioning today is suspense. Suspense is what the author uses to make the reader anxious about what will happen. Bro, come on, man. I'm trying to take a shower, dude. Let's review everything that was discussed. A plot is the storyline. Exposition sets up the story. Rising actions are what lead up to the climax. The climax is the turning point of a story. And the resolution or denouement is where everything is wrapped up. There are many types of plot devices. Characters are people in a story. The protagonist is the good guy and hero. The antagonist is the bad guy that opposes the protagonist. Conflict is the opposing forces in a story. A flashback informs the audience of something that happened before the story even began. In medias res is starting a story in the middle of an action. Foreshadowing is giving clues to the audience about what will happen to the story. Suspense is used to make the audience anxious about what will happen. And that sums up the basics of a plot. The end.